Described as one of the most powerful Jedi of his generation, and perhaps in the history of the Jedi Order, it's easy to question why Anakin Skywalker, who by that time had fallen to become the Sith Lord Darth Vader, was defeated by Obi-Wan Kenobi in their duel on Mustafar. But to focus solely on the power of Vader ignores the importance of Obi-Wan's abilities, and the tactics that were utilized during the duel by both the Sith Lord and the Jedi Master. In this video expose, I will explain how Obi-Wan defeated Vader on Mustafar by focusing on the lightsaber styles that they employed and how the timing of the duel may have been a detriment to Vader. To understand how Obi-Wan was able to emerge from the duel victorious, it's important to first understand his lightsaber style and how it was a perfect counter against Vader. During the duel, Obi-Wan used Surisu, also known as Form 3, which was the third of the 7 classic lightsaber combat forms recognized by the Jedi High Council. Form 3 was initially developed by the Jedi as a defensive style when blasters emerged as a widespread offensive weapon. The style ultimately became the most defensive of the 7 forms, and utilized extremely tight lightsaber movements, subtle dodges, and efficient parries to produce practically complete protection and minimal exposure to the enemy's blade, while at the same time expending as little energy as possible. Therefore, practitioners who were trained thoroughly enough in the technique were nearly invincible. Focused on self-defense and almost entirely on impenetrable defensive technique at the expense of offense, Form 3 was created to essentially wait out the opponent until they began to make mistakes due to their frustration or fatigue, which the Form 3 practitioner could then take advantage of as their opponent's defense relaxed. Further, because Form 3 often resulted in prolonged and lengthy duels, practitioners would prepare themselves for this result, and be ready to learn as much as possible about their opponent's techniques that would be unveiled during the battle. Obi-Wan had not originally been well trained in Surisu, as he attempted the style of his master Qui-Gon Jinn initially, which was Ataru, also known as Form 4. However, having seen his master be defeated by Darth Maul due to Ataru's lack of defensive attributes, Obi-Wan changed his focus from Ataru to Surisu as a way to eliminate the defensive weaknesses that were present within his own technique. Obi-Wan developed his skill in Form 3 both prior to and during the Clone Wars, allowing him to not only improve significantly in the form, but to become a master in it. In fact, Jedi Master Mace Windu recognized Obi-Wan not only as a master of Form 3, but the master. This was no false praise from Mace, as he explained to Obi-Wan that his mastery of the classic form, to the point where he may have been the greatest practitioner of the style in the history of the Jedi Order, afforded him the title as a great swordsman, and within the company of skilled duelists such as himself and Yoda. Clearly, Obi-Wan's mastery of Form 3 and his ability to perform impressive feats with it was recognized by the most skilled Jedi duelists of his era. But his mastery of Form 3 was not only recognized by other Jedi. During Obi-Wan's duel against the Sith Lord Count Dooku aboard the Invisible Hand, Dooku was taken aback by the Jedi's ability to perfectly meet and deflect every one of his lightsaber strikes, while at the same time staying perfectly centered and balanced and using only the most efficient movements. In other words, Obi-Wan was perfectly employing the technique of Surisu. Having engaged Obi-Wan long enough during the Battle of Coruscant, the blinding velocity of his defensive technique forced Dooku to declare Obi-Wan as a master of Form 3. But we can take the importance of Obi-Wan's mastery of the defensive style of Surisu in his duel with Darth Vader on Mustafar even further by looking at Vader's pre-injury style of Gemso, also known as Form 5, and finding out how this style further played into the advantages of Form 3, particularly the rage-induced variant that was employed by Vader on Mustafar. Clearly, Vader's lightsaber abilities are not to be underestimated, as while Dooku classified Obi-Wan as a master in Form 3, Dooku also considered Anakin to be a master of Form 5. In fact, he saw Anakin as one of the finest Gemso stylists he'd ever seen. Form 5 was developed as a style that would prevent lightsaber duels from becoming unnecessarily long, and to allow the practitioner to create their own openings and opportunities to strike, rather than waiting for one to reveal itself. Importantly, in relying upon powerful attacks and defense that would be immediately followed up with a counterattack, Form 5 was designed to use an opponent's attack against them, as after defending against their assault, Form 5 duelists would counterattack with powerful combinations designed to overpower and overwhelm their opponent by gaining the initiative. It must be remembered that although Form 5 did focus on defending and not merely on pressing the attack, the crux of the technique was in immediately following up upon this defense to bring the force of the opponent's attack against them, and to then dominate the duel through their own offense that relied upon brute strength and power. Therefore, during their duel on Mustafar, Obi-Wan's Form 3 technique in focusing solely on defense with no pressing attacks of his own, completely deprived Vader of the most important attributes of Form 5. That is, the ability to counterattack and dominate Obi-Wan's position through sheer power and strength. More than this, Obi-Wan's Surisu defensive mastery allowed him to hold off and defend against Vader's brutal barrage of attacks. Obi-Wan's Form 3 perfectly countered Vader's angry variant of Form 5. By focusing only on defense, Obi-Wan was able to simply deflect and block Vader's relentless attacks and guide the battle to a place where he had the overwhelming advantage. Having obtained the high ground and positional superiority over Vader, Obi-Wan's Form 3 worked to perfection, particularly as a counter to Vader, as it pushed the Sith Lord to become frustrated and ultimately allow his defense to completely falter. As Vader attempted to jump at Obi-Wan, he left himself open and allowed Obi-Wan to score a decisive blow, severing Vader's left arm and both legs, thereby winning the Jedi Master the duel. Outside of Obi-Wan and Vader's lightsaber styles, there's another important reason that explains how the Jedi Master was able to defeat the Sith Lord on Mustafar, one that was discovered by Darth Sidious only weeks after the duel. Sidious, who did not personally foresee Vader's defeat to Obi-Wan, started searching for answers as to why his apprentice ultimately lost. He concluded that at the time of the duel, Vader had not yet fully committed himself to the dark side. More than that, Vader was still between worlds, so to speak, wherein he was not fully Darth Vader and not fully Anakin Skywalker. Sidious understood that this made Vader vulnerable, and it was this vulnerability that was seized upon by Obi-Wan to defeat his apprentice. So there we have it, how Obi-Wan was able to defeat Darth Vader on Mustafar. We love making these videos, so why not subscribe for more fun Star Wars theories and discussions? Also, if you enjoyed the video, think about giving a like or leaving a comment. If not for me, for technique.